Welcome to another edition of For the Record with DJ Abass. It's a very, very wet London Thursday night, but thankfully we have people in the studio who have been warming us up and will want to warm us up the more as the program progresses. Today I have in the studio with me the co-creator of the hit Netflix series right now, Meet the Adebanjos. And guess what? I have like a 60-second part in one of the editions that came up a few years ago, but he's not coming in right now. Right now, my first guest on the program is Nims Obunge, and he is an independent London mayoral candidate. And it's actually a pleasure to have him on the show today. How are you doing, sir?
Great, good to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. Number one, for coming, because I know how tight your schedule is. And we're going to get right into it right now. The actual election is a few months away.
Yes, on the 7th of May.
And I heard not too long ago that you wanted to be a part. I'm thinking, why is he going? I know Pastor Nims, and why is he going for this? Not because you are not capable or fit for it. In fact, I need to read this quick citation of you for those who are watching and who don't really know the man. He was awarded the High Sheriff of Greater London Award, the Justice Awards, and the Metropolitan Police Volunteer Award. He was also awarded an M.B.E. by Her Majesty the Queen and later appointed Her Majesty's Deputy Lieutenant for Greater London and serves on the Faith Council, a role he holds close to his heart. Nims founded the Peace Alliance, a charity that works in partnership with the police, government agencies, the corporate sector, and faith and voluntary organizations. He is also a current member of the Knife and Violent Crime Prevention Group and is working alongside other community leaders and government agencies to combat the recent rise in knife crime across the capital. You are more than capable for this next step you want to take, but I'm asking, why now?
I think that, and thanks a lot, DJ, for having me here.
Pleasure.
I think that we've come to a point in the history of London where we don't want to see the trauma in our communities that we have seen for many years. I've had the privilege of serving in different roles. I used to chair the London Criminal Justice Board Advisory Group. I sat with the Met Police over some years ago on Operation Blunt, which was a response to knife crime, chairing that, the impact it was having in wider community, in London as generally. And the initial driver, without a doubt, was the death of our young people on our streets. And then when you look further down as to why that's happening, you see there's a poverty of opportunity, poverty of aspiration, and there's some communities that could do with a lot more support. So my standing in to be a mayoral candidate is not so much trying to step into the role of partisan politics. As a matter of fact, I think London has had enough of partisan politics. And there's a moment in time we need to bring practitioners and professionals to come alongside us as Londoners, and let's work together for the restoration and healing of our city and our community. I see that there's an opportunity for an independent mayoral candidate to work with the Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems, Green Party, bring the best and the brightest within that, and bring a moment in time in the history of London where we don't have infighting, but we have a sense of unity, where our diversity becomes our strength rather than our weakness.
Do you think partisanship has been one of the major flaws in getting the best out of whichever government has served as mayor or whichever administration has served as mayor?
I think what's often happened is we try to look for what's wrong rather than celebrate what's right. And I think at the moment, the lives of our young people is too precious, and the poverty and the lack of opportunities that we see in our city, it's too precious for us to just continue to allow partisan politics to rule the day. That's why our campaign is called Step Up for London. We're not saying I'm going to step up for London on my own, much as I will be stepping up for London. But DJ Abass, you and many other of us can step up together. And if each one of us start doing what we all can do together as a city, our city will be much stronger and better for it. I have this image in my mind. And at this moment, what we're doing is asking Londoners we're having something we call the big policy conversations, and we're going across London. We're asking Londoners to tell us what they think they would want to see in a city that's united and becomes a global leader, maintains its place as a global leader. There are 4 key arenas we've looked at: making London safe, making London affordable, making London electric, making London prosperous. But within that, there's several other campaign thoughts that we have in that framework. But what we're asking folks to do and your listeners to do is go on our website, nimsforlondon.com.
Okay.
And when they go on our website, interact with us. We want a picture of London that they can see themselves in. Let me ask you a question. DJ, can you remember when you were a young person in your school and they took a picture of your class?
Indeed.
And that picture came to you and you looked at it. What's the first thing you look for when you got that picture?
Myself, of course.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So our position is clear. Londoners, we want you to see yourselves in our policy. We want, we notice there's been political apathy because people don't see themselves in the framework of what London should be.
Okay.
So we want Londoners to influence the direction our manifesto goes, our policy goes. By January or thereabout, we'll be able to say, at the end of January, this is what we've heard from Londoners. So we want to get into every community, talk about the issues, address them from the standpoint of Londoners, and then articulate their voice.
Okay. Knife crime, that's, and correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, perhaps the cornerstone of your camp for this particular campaign. That has been the catalyst, really, that's kind of like prompted you to come out, because in your most recent interview on The Times, it's like you just kind of take where our kids are right now in terms of the knife crime thing, and your project, the Peace Alliance, started on the back of this in 2001, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sir.
And we've had an 18-year period. If you were to describe between 2001 and now, and the increase in knife crime, what has been neglected
I think,
in terms of policy?
I think you look at, you've seen a rise and a drop, and it's come back up. I think, let me pause for a moment and just say this. A few months ago, just about 2 months ago or thereabout, I had the challenge and responsibility of bearing David Burke-Monaville. David was the third brother in a family. This is the third brother killed on London streets. None of them were gang members. But so when a parent loses 3 of their sons to knife crime, you wonder what's gone wrong. It's absolutely traumatic and harrowing. And I watched his 9-year-old son and 12-year-old son burying his body. At that service I conducted, that was one of many services I have conducted of such trauma and destruction that's impacting our cities. Years ago, I went to prisons, and I found young people saying this, that when we held guns or when we were tooled up, we felt untouchable. So in the Peace Alliance, we did a 20-something minute video, training video, real-life individuals of people who have been traumatized by violent crime. And the question was, what makes a young person feel they need to be untouchable in our communities? Why do young people feel they need to carry knives and guns? What is the failing? There's some things that we allude to as things such as adverse childhood experiences. Some of our communities, we need to look at the trauma, and I use the word trauma intentionally because I don't think that we've actually addressed some of the traumatic issues that many young people have. And so they've lost emotional intelligence. I know people refer to an issue around the drug trade and county line, the role of county lines. And that in itself, there's a big issue there. I spoke to somebody not too long ago who has experienced, whose family had experienced, a female member of family gang raped by men in our community, or boys in that community, tying people up. You see, and that's as a result, it's not just the killing, it's not just the stabbing we're dealing with. We're dealing with the violence in our communities. Different shades of violence that we've got to address. So I think our community has been neglected. Many years ago, I sat with Tony Blair when he was Prime Minister, and he was alluding to the challenges that existed in our community. And I said, we don't doubt those challenges, but what we ask for is support. But Tony Blair didn't actually capture the essence of my conversation with him when we were all sitting on the round table at Downing Street. And what he came up with at Cardiff was, he said, tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. That's not resolved the problems. What needs to happen is we need to support the most vulnerable, challenged individuals in our communities, make sure that we give them economic empowerment, make sure that we're giving them an opportunity to turn away from that lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle. If you were given economic empowerment and giving the kind of emotional and psychological support, we will see a lot of our young people changing the trajectory of their lifestyle. There are a range of things we're looking at to support them, but I could go on, but I'm not looking to talk about the manifesto in itself because we're not yet there. We're still listening.
Well, You've had opportunities. You just mentioned your sit down with Tony Blair right now. You've had opportunities to sit with Gordon Brown. You've had opportunities to sit with Theresa May and Cameron as well. So you are not you are familiar with that level. Where is the missing link across all those four? The missing link in addressing this crime, because it's not new. It's always been there. Where is the disconnect? Is it partisanship?
Here's the thing. There's a step down. Policy often have been given from a top-down perspective, and there's not been an ownership. That's there's a video we put together where that's why we say it's a step up for London. So in essence, we're saying this has to be a grassroots-driven movement. Okay. This has to be a grassroots-owned directive. So in essence, we're not asking the police to stop and search our children. We take responsibility for stop and search at home.
You have enough police, though.
No, but here we go. Now, that's the other thing that we're looking at. The Prime Minister, Boris, has said he wants to send 20,000 officers onto our streets.
But to when?
And the reality is, it's not so much, and I said this in our Times interview, I'm not looking for officers that are just going to come in and start arresting more young people. Exactly. What I'd like to see are officers that are empowering officers. And that's why I'm also asking, not just for us to have more warrant officers who support, and we have bobbies on the beat that create a safety net within our communities. But we also have men like yourself, DJ Abass, who will sign up as a special constable. And while you're on duty as a special constable, and you see one of our young people on the streets, or a group of young people, they look to you and they know you as a member of the community, and you're able to empower them and say, guys, that is not the direction. We need more mentors. So whilst in the Peace Alliance, I started something called the DREAM program. And DREAM for me is an acronym about developing real examples and mentors, DREAM. We need more mentors. We need more people that young people can look up to and feel you represent us. You represent our future. You represent our hope.
See themselves.
They absolutely need to see themselves, and they need to see hope. Now, what is hope? Again, I like acronyms. It's about helping other people excel. Okay. So we've got to help other people to excel. I remember doing an interview many years ago, like you, I was a journalist. And not a broadcast journalist.
And a political scientist.
And a political scientist. We both did political science. So there you go. I was interviewing George Foreman. And I said, George, give me a message to young people in our nation. And he said to me, if they wake up in the morning without a dream, they should go back to sleep. Okay. Many young people have lost their dreams. They've lost their ability to dream. Many families have lost their ability to dream. And we've got to realign people to giving them hope, setting up entrepreneurship opportunities, innovation hubs across our communities, empowering the arts and cultures within our city and society, making people realize that our city is a city of hope and opportunities, and we don't allow people to continue to go down the trajectory that we see London is going in some cases.
Oh, in order to do that as well, and great plans, but London is one of the most expensive cities in the world.
Right, sir.
Gentrification, it seems, is something that pops in all the areas we're familiar with, growing up, Peckham, Dalston. The shift is clear to see.
Yes.
What will be different with you?
So and thanks for raising that. One of the things we're looking at, and again, it's a talking point at the moment on our website under the vision of making London affordable. We want to have, should we say, homes for frontline workers in order to ensure affordable homes for frontline workers so that we don't have the best of us being shipped out of London and going to the shares and stepping out of London to a place that they feel that they can afford. We've got to keep a large portion of our housing stock, affordable housing stock for Londoners. I'm having conversations with developers to that effect. And there is a great example of affordable homes with normal homes in Tottenham Hill, which was set up by Lee Valley Estates by Michael Pelledri. And they've received numerous awards.
It's been there for a while, actually.
Yes,
just over the Hum Bridge.
Yes, and they're building some more. So the essence is this: you won't know who has an affordable home in that estate, and those that are bought clearly by their mortgages and private-owned properties. But what they've done is they've integrated them together. We need to have a lot of projects that integrate affordable homes with private ownerships, so people begin to feel that sense of we're not being priced out of our city. With gentrification, there's nothing wrong with improving an environment. There's nothing wrong with improving
areas. Comes with a big price, though.
But it does if that's the other conversation I want to have with developers. There's a percentage profit that they're looking at, and I've spoken with some key developers, and they're actually reviewing whether we can have a conversation reducing that level of profit, still ensuring they get their profit. Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's an ongoing conversation.
Okay.
We've got to continue to have these conversations, and we've got to make them understand. If you don't do that, we won't be able to give you the properties you want. We will give it to those that are more in alignment with our policy to make London affordable. And then that brings us to a much wider conversation around the mayoral guardianship program to address homelessness. Because we've got to address homelessness in our city. People should not be allowed to sleep on our streets. It's not right. And we've got to ensure premises that are not being used. We look at a mayoral guardianship program that ensures we start addressing homelessness in a robust way. And we work with
a realistic way too.
Robust and realistic, so that people aren't having. And I'm grateful to the charities out there. And I give them a shout of commendation for what they're doing around the winter shelters, making sure that people, as best as possible, are not sleeping on the streets and we're feeding. We used to get actively involved in that, even within our church premises. But I think that what we've got to ensure is we have a London that affords everybody an opportunity to sleep on a warm bed.
Okay. Many will say, oh, he's an independent. It's a tough ask, really. What's the strategy? What's the plan?
The strategy is quite simple. Well, first of all, thanks for again raising that. I've never been involved in partisan politics. I've had
Though you have a degree in political science.
Yes, though I have a degree, but I've had the offer.
Yes.
But again, as a deputy lieutenant to Her Majesty, I've never touched that, and now I've taken leave of absence. I feel that it's important that I don't take leave of absence to get caught up in any particular political party. But I feel that this is a moment in time, like I alluded to at the beginning. The mayoral system election process runs a two-tier voting preferential pathway. So those who feel like they're die-hard conservatives, irrespective of whether they see their policies in the manifesto or not, and feel they just want to vote conservative for whatever reasons, we say, okay, fine. If you insist on that, put me as your second preference. And would say that to die-hard Labour and Lib Dem members. But to those who have begun to think differently and see that the day has come for a different kind of politics in our city, they would see that they see themselves in our policy. Put me as your first preference. At that point in time, let me try and give you a framework around what happened with the last elections. Sadiq Khan had 1.1 million votes. Zach Goldsmith had about 900 and something thousand votes. Neither of them had enough to get them through. So the second preference votes was what determined who went through. Now, what we want to ensure is we are the first, among the first to, if not the first, to get through on the first go. Should we not win on the first go by virtue of the mobilization that programs such as this and others will have across our diverse city, what we hope to happen is that second preference voters from Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems and others will position us to challenge anybody who feels it's their right to be mayor. We will win. And the idea is this. This is a movement of Londoners actually going to say we do not think our future should be hemmed in by just partisan policy. And let me put this out there. About 2 million people plus voted in the last mayoral elections. But can you imagine we're a city of about 8 million people? Plus. So in excess of 8 million plus some, going on to 9 million.
That's fine.
And I think what is challenging is this. We have discovered that the greatest number of people in relation to the electorate are the non-voters. And many of them come from our communities. What we want to do is mobilize and start encouraging people to register. And that's why on our website, you have a page that allows folks to click on and register to vote. We want young people.
That's on nimsforlondon.com.
On nimsforlondon.com. Once they go to nimsforlondon.com, there is a part there where we're asking folks not only to tell us what they want us to talk about and add to our manifesto, but we're actually saying, hey guys, register. I met about 8 to 10 young people this morning, and they were all over 18. Only 2 of them had registered to vote for this present election.
That's like the average.
Absolutely. So now they've all said they're going to register for the mayoral elections, and I trust that they will. We want to create a mobilization framework, so we're not relying on just old voters, but we'll have a surge of thousands of new voters who will come on board and make sure.
And young ones who are really more affected about this
the
policy
future
going forward.
Absolutely.
You want to make London a zero-emission zone. It's a
2030.
global, it's a global discussion right now.
Absolutely.
How do you intend to get around that?
Well, there are a series of conversations we've been having. One of the key things about what we're doing is, when we say make London electric, we want to see that we have a transportation system that is driven by electric vehicles, a delivery system that's driven by electric. And actually, we might begin to start looking at buildings that have carbon emissions. We start looking at a potential taxing around that. So we start
More
leading
taxes.
no, potential.
Okay.
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
What we're hearing this from the experts, but we can't just speak rhetorically about it. We've got to practically start saying, if we're going to do this, and I was at Flow FM yesterday, Flow FM 101.2,
Yes.
yeah, right, and I had an American lady who came over. She's a tourist. So I said, hey, what's your question you want to ask me? And she said, I don't really have a question, I just have a statement. And I said, what is it? She said, when I came into London, because of the environment, I got sick.
Whoa.
And I apologized. And I said, I'm sorry, we haven't done better. You come back again. We're going to work on this. In the next 5 to 10 years, we'll have a better environment. She said, and it was clear that she had been quite ill because of the environment. And we lose quite a number of people, a lot of people to death in our city because of the pollution. We've got to do something better. And we've got to create a better future for our young people.
In Europe, the stats are not really in favor of London. If you go to Scandinavia, a lot of those cities have good ratings. So
Absolutely.
it'd be nice to see London at least close to them, if not with them.
We are going to surpass them. We've got to have a vision to do so, and we've got to dream that it's possible.
And you have 60 seconds to look into that camera and tell Londoners what you expect of them.
Hi, Londoners. Look, I want to thank you guys for listening in. Here's a story. We have a vision to make this city a global leader, and we can do this together. And I'm asking you to come alongside, join us on our social media handles, but you might want to just go on to nimsforlondon.com. Watch that video. We've got a 1-minute video that tells you why I'm running.
Playing after this,
And it's going to be playing right now. And what I ask for you to do is come on, challenge me, question me, be part of this movement. Let's work together to make London safe, make London affordable, prosperous. Let's ensure that it's electric. Let's bring more practitioners and professionals and make this city amazing. We can win. Don't look at the disadvantage. An opportunity lies ahead of all of us. And who says an independent can't win? It's not about whether I'm independent or not. It's whether your vision gets heard and articulated by somebody like me. I'm Nims for London. Let's do this together. Let's step up for London together. I really appreciate you guys.
Thanks for coming on the show.
DJ,
it's been a
thanks a
great
lot.
pleasure having you.
It's a
Definitely.
privilege. Thank you.
And I wish you the very best.
Thank you, sir.
And that's Nims Obunge, London Mayor, independent London Mayor candidate. And we're going on a break right now. When we come back, we're going to meet in the co-creator of Meet the Adebanjos.
Hi everybody, my name is Nims, and I love London. This is an amazing city. It's a city we can all be proud to call our home. And I believe it's a city we must work together to preserve and protect. Over the last 30 years, we've worked together with faith organizations, community organizations, government agencies to ensure that we have peace on our streets. And I want to see that we do everything we can and we step up for London to ensure we have a safe city. In order to do that, I am standing as an independent mayoral candidate. Be part of something different. Let's not hand the future to just politicians. Let's hand the future to the people of London.